would like to wish everybody here tonight Rosh Chodesh Tov U'Mborach. I have to tell you that I'm very, very grateful and very honored for the special zechut to be here tonight. I'm very emotional and really very excited to be here with you tonight. As written on the flyer, we pray that the words that we will hear today, hopefully words that come from deep in my heart, with the guidance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, will reach everybody's hearts, and we will all, in small steps, grow slowly, slowly to reach the optimum. I would like to share with you personally that it was very, very important for me to come to be here with you tonight. I got connected with Mrs. Shafi Hassan, and we've been talking for a while about coming here. And in the meantime, in the course of our relationship, I was actually diagnosed with an illness, which I would like to ask you to please pray for me, because I do need prayers for Refuah Shelemah amongst all the other sick people of Israel. But since I felt it was so important for me, and I felt this is such a big zechut and big honor to be here, I really, really wanted to spend an evening with you tonight. And I want to thank you for coming here tonight. I also would like to thank Rebbetzin Eisenman and her husband for opening their beautiful walls of the synagogue for us. We're really, really very grateful, and we hope, Be'ezrat Hashem, that this place will always be a place where Torah just goes up straight to Shemayim. Amen. So, today was the 1st of Elul. We are starting now a journey where we really can reach all the way up to heaven. We have a special opportunity now in our hands to do something that usually we cannot do all year round. We can always do teshuvah, but the month of Elul is something very, very special. And it should be in our mind as much as possible to seize the opportunity and do the most we can to really grow and connect as much as possible with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hashem, this is a beautiful religious crowd. When we think about people who are not religious, we can have lists of many things that they can do in order to change and improve. Keep Shabbat, keep Kasher. The list is endless. But what can we do? We women who were blessed to be part of a religious community, who are religious ourselves, what teshuvah can we do? How can we become stronger? What is there for us to change? I think it's our job to look for the truth. This is a time for a search for truth. The truth that we all know in our innermost depth of our heart. And as we know, as women, what really, really makes us who we are, what really defines our essence, is a word that not always people are so excited to hear, but we all know that this is the truth. We have to go back and look at our Sarah imenu, Rivka imenu, Rachel and Leah imenu, and ask ourselves, when are we going to be to reach the level that they've reached? How can we be like our own matriarchs? As you know, when Adam and Hawa, Adam and Eve, please forgive my accent, I come from a Sephardi background, so if it sounds a little funny to you, it's okay, you can laugh. I don't mind. So as we know, when Adam and Eve were first placed at the Garden of Eden, they were naked. Why were they naked? Because they were able to see who each person was without a distraction of what's external, the outside. There was no division between the external and the internal. It was all the same. It was only after they ate from the tree of knowledge that their eyes opened and they suddenly realized that they had to cover themselves. Suddenly, there was a distraction. Suddenly, there was a differentiation between our internal and our external. And in order for us to reach the inside, and for them as well, they were at a different phase. They had to go over the distraction of what's external in order to reach the internal. Now, the other day I was speaking to a group of ladies and I asked them the following question. I'd like to hear from you too. I asked, if you had to choose one part of who we are that is most important, what will you say is one of the most important parts of who we are, which defines who we are? What would you say? Can I share with you some of the things that we heard that day? One lady said our eyes. Another lady said our brain. There was a lady who said, I don't even remember, different parts of the body. And then there was one lady who said our inside, our neshama. Because, you know, we all know that if, God forbid, someone loses a part of the body, is it still me? Of course. It's still me. Even if I, God forbid, lose a limb or Has v'Shalom can't see, it's still me. So the real essence of who I am is our inside, our neshama. That's what defines who we are. And that is something that I think as women we have to focus on and work on. However, what is the world we live in? We live in a world where there's so much emphasis on the external. There's so much emphasis on the outside. You just walk in the street. I don't know what it's like here. I'm sure this is a lot more protected and holy area. But you walk outside, you can't avoid different ads of clothing. Even if you go to a mall or to shop in a store, there's so much emphasis on the outside. The makeup, the hairstyle, the clothes. We live in a world where what is important is the outside. What's important is the external. Excuse me. And somehow we get affected. We get a little confused. It even presents itself in the following example. We occasionally organize events for Jewish modern Orthodox singles. And I've been in a few events where people come and they say to me, there's nobody here for me. Why? They look around, they just try to see who's there, and if they don't feel there's someone who externally is attractive, they just leave. That's one example. But we are all confused, not only those singles. We all live in a world that's very confusing and which pulls us in different directions. And we have to go back to our sources and say, what is it that's really important? Who are we really? Excuse me. Let's go back again to Sefer Bereshith. In the story of the blessings that Yitzhak Avinu gave to his son, Yaakov Avinu, we're all familiar with the story. But let's try and focus on one area that perhaps is not very well known to many people. As we know, Yaakov Avinu, when he came to present himself, when Yaakov Avinu came in front of Yitzhak, he wore the skin of the goat on his arms, but there was something else that he asked to wear. What did he wear? Anybody knows? Birdei ha'hamudot asher le'Esav. Right? The special clothing that belonged to Esav, his brother. Why? We know that there was a worry that his father will feel him, and he wants to make sure that his father feels his hairy hands. But what was the need of wearing those clothing? His father was blind anyway. As we know, Yitzhak Avinu could not see him. Why did he have to wear it? We're told that those clothing were actually given by Hashem to Adam. Adam passed it to Noah. Ham took it away from Noah. It went to Canaan, then Nimrod got it, and Esau actually killed Nimrod in order to get those clothing. Hamudot from the word lahmod, to covet. On that piece of clothing, there were vivid pictures of animals. And every time Esau went hunting, he made sure that he would wear this. Without fail, every time he would wear those clothing. Why did Yaakov Avinu have to wear it? Because he knew that if he does not wear those clothing, he will not be able to feel like Esau. He had to put something external on, the clothing that belonged to his brother, in order to actually feel like Esau. We see something that we all know. What a big difference the external clothing that we wear make to our inside. We are affected, our essence, our inside is affected by what we wear. It does make a big difference. Now, there's always a question. There's always a struggle between looking attractive, looking beautiful, and being modest. I want you to know, I think it's our job and our responsibility to always look beautiful. We should always look beautiful, especially if we're blessed and we're married and we have husbands. Especially then, we have to make ourselves beautiful in the eyes of our husbands. How many women wear their contact lenses when they go out of the house, but in the house wear their glasses? Why? How many women make sure that they look beautiful when they go out to any function or just outside of the street? They would put some lipstick on or whatever it is. But what about the home? Our first responsibility is to look beautiful and attractive inside our home. And we often forget that. We often tend to make sure that we look our best once we step outside of our house. But within the four walls of our home, it doesn't matter, you know, our husbands come home from work or from the yeshiva, we still wear those clothing smelling of the fried onions or whatever we cooked that day. Everybody can tell there's some stains of the whatever. No, it's our job and our responsibility. Sounds familiar, I see. It's our job and our responsibility, first of all, to make sure that we are beautiful and attractive in the eyes of our husband. Now, as we know, our rabbis tell us that sniut, being modesty, sniut, is actually the most important aspect of a woman's life that determines what kind of blessings this woman will bring upon herself, upon her home, and upon the entire Jewish people. Just imagine that there would be huge signs in the streets of Passaic announcing that a big Mekubal came from, let's say, Eretz Israel, and he has some special kamiyah, amulet, that whoever comes and gets that amulet from him, everybody knows what I'm referring to, kamiyah, maybe it's more common in the Sephardi communities, basically something that's good for protection, that brings blessings upon one's homes. Whoever comes, he will hand out a special kamiyah, a special amulet. Would anybody stay home? Is there anybody who will not make the effort to come and meet this mekubal, even if it's after a long day of work, even if we're tired, even if we had a lot of struggles that day? Every single person will run to the synagogue to get this blessing, the kamiyah, the amulet from this mekubal. Whoever does not, doesn't make sense. However, we don't have to run to mekubalim to get a kamiyah, because our rabbis of blessed memory tell us that we have a kamiyah, we have an amulet as women, and that is our sniut. If we actually try to increase the level of sniut, the more and more blessings will come upon us. We all know that Hashem's Shekhinah would only rest in such a place. And the Shekhinah will leave a place where there isn't sniut. So we have this amazing power as women, and that is what I would like you to think about and really, really spend a little time during this special month of Elul and ask ourselves, how can we grow? And we can all grow. There's no limit to our growth in this area. We can all grow. We can all become better. We can all improve, and we can all bring more and more blessings upon ourselves and get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One of the things that I think we have to do is try and direct our energy into our inside. You know, when you want to have to start fire, you need some wood. The more wood you bring into the fire, the bigger the fire will be. Whatever we feed will grow better. In other words, the more we feed our internal, the greater it will be. The more we feed our external, that will be our focus, and the inside, the internal, will be lost somewhere. So I would like to suggest that we should spend a little extra time every day looking at the mirror of our inside. Looking at the mirror of what I can do to increase and feed our beauty from inside. The more we feed our inside, the more we focus on our inside, the more we try to refine ourselves, the shinier and the more beautiful we would be. Why is it that when there is a big tzaddik who comes, and I'm sure many of you had the zechut of meeting big tzaddikim, you go to them and you feel the glow in their face. What is it? Where does this glow, where does this shine, where does this light come from? It comes from inside. It's a reflection of their beauty inside, their holiness, their closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And every single one of us can work on ourselves so we glow and shine on the outside, but this will be a true glow from within, from inside. I would like to share with you a story that perhaps is not connected so much to this topic, but it is connected to what a person, what kind of a level a person can reach when he or she truly work on refining their inside. This is a true story that actually happened in the land of Israel not long ago. It's a story about a troop of soldiers who were guarding one of the new settlements. And every night there was another soldier who was on duty and had to do a patrol and walk around, make sure there's no terrorist activity, and they would rotate. So that was one night. That was Avi's night. Avi had his turn. He stayed up the whole night. Baruch Hashem, it was a quiet night. The night was over. He went back to his room. And after sleeping a little bit during the day, his friend Yossi, who was supposed to be on duty the following night, came to him and said to him, Avi, I want to ask you to do me a favor. I know that last night was your turn, you were on duty, but I really need a big favor, and I want to ask you to please take my turn tonight and be on duty instead of me. Avi, without thinking too much, said, no problem, I'll do it. When the night came, he started his going around, making sure that everything is okay. And after a few hours into the night, suddenly he heard some suspicious sounds, and before he knew what exactly was happening, there was fire, and he understood that the terrorists are right there. He tried to get in touch with his base, but everything happened so fast that before the soldiers in the base were able to come and give him help, it was already too late, and Avi was murdered. The sirens went in the base. Yossi, with all the other soldiers, woke up and he suddenly understood what was happening. He ran to see what was going on. He wanted to find out what's happening with his friend Avi. And he found out that Avi was no longer alive. He was beside himself. He said, that was supposed to be me. Why you? I was supposed to be here. Well, there was the funeral. When the whole group of soldiers went to the funeral, Yossi, of course, came, but he was trying to hide. He didn't want to see. He didn't want his eyes to meet the parents' eyes. He kept thinking to himself, these were supposed to be my parents. Why? What happened? And then, on the third day, the entire group of soldiers went to visit the parents for the Shiva. Yossi was trying to hide behind all of his friends. And when Avi's father got up to say a few words and speak about his son, everybody was listening. When he finished talking about his son, there was a pause, and then he said, I know that night, Yossi was not on duty. Who of you, soldiers here, was on duty that night? And Avi said, it was me. I'm sorry. Yossi said, it was me. There was silence. The father got up. He came. He walked towards Yossi, and he said to him, I want you to know that everything that happened is all hashgaha perativ. Has nothing to do with you. He bowed down, he hugged him, and he kissed him. And then he took out a kippah that his son was wearing on that day and put it on this boy's head. It's a very touching story. And the reason I'm telling it to you is because where did this father get the strength and the power to act the way he acted? Which seems to us a little above human nature, above what we would have expected that would happen. Something like this can happen only if we really, truly refine and work on ourselves and become closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because the more refined we are, the holier we are, of course, the closest we are to our Father in heaven. This is an expression of real inner beauty of a person. And that is something that I think is our responsibility as women. Not I think. We know. This is our responsibility as women because we women are so powerful. We sometimes forget it, but we are so powerful. There's so much that we can do. There's so much that we can do on a personal level for our family and for the entire Jewish people. It's all in our hands, in the hands of us women. But we really have to be strong and forget about what's important in the outside world. Keep feeding our inside. Keep asking ourselves, what can I do? How can I become closer to Sarah Imenu, to Rivka Imenu, to Rachel Imenu, and Leah Imenu? This is my role model. This is the one I want to be like. We can do it. But it all depends on being really truthful and searching the truth from within. You know, when it comes to truth in the Torah, we don't look at the other person. But it's the hardest when it comes to this topic of semi'ud. Because when it comes, for example, to how particular a person is when it comes to kashrut or to Shabbat. We don't really have a clear and definite understanding on where each person holds. We don't know. We might have a rough idea, but we don't really know. But when it comes to Seni'ut, it's very simple. We just look. We look at the other person, and we are affected. Usually, we are affected by those around us, and it's much harder to say, you know what? I know what the truth is. And because I know what the truth is, I'm going to be different. I don't mind being different because I know that this is the truth. And when it comes to the laws of the Torah, we follow the truth. We follow what's right, not what's right in the eyes of the other person. So there are, for example, and again, I want to tell you, please, whatever I say, please take my words as coming without any judgment. I'm saying whatever I'm saying with love in my heart, and because I really would like to create awareness and have people think about it. We have to make sure that we remind ourselves that the length of my skirt is the right length, not because my friend wears this length of skirt, but because I know that this is the right length. I don't make decisions based on what she wears. I make decisions based on what is true. And it's very, very difficult to do it when it comes to this area. As I said, we don't know exactly the level of kashrut of each person, but the level of Seni'ut, we do. Now, not only that we have responsibility for ourselves, but we have responsibility for others. I want to share with you something that a friend of mine told me, something that happened in a totally different community, maybe a little difficult for you to relate to it, but I want to tell you because this is something that we have to keep in mind. As women, we have no understanding of how men's minds work. We do not. Let's not try and deceive ourselves by saying we understand. We do not understand. And therefore, we should know that men are affected. I want to give you an example. First of all, one that perhaps will be easier for you to understand. Recently, I work at a school, as the Rabbanit mentioned. One of the rabbis came to me and he said to me, I want to tell you something. Why are a particular teacher wearing tight shirts? I find it to be a big distraction. Why? And I know that this lady had no idea. She didn't even think that something like this may be a challenge for any of the rabbis in the school. We don't realize it. I recently read a letter that a Bahur Yeshiva wrote, and he writes, I want you to know that it's so hard for me, a Bahur Yeshiva in Eretz Israel, it's so hard for me to walk in the streets of the city. And he says, and I'm not talking about the non-religious communities, the non-religious neighborhoods. I'm talking about the religious neighborhoods. When I walk there, I have to stick my head, my eyes in the ground. I cannot walk up straight. And the story which I wanted to tell you, which comes from a totally different community, but just to give you an idea. A friend of mine was traveling on a train, and there was a group of elderly men, some of them even with canes, who were talking to each other, and they were talking in a foreign language, not English. That lady who was on the train happened to know the language those men were talking. She said, the things that they were saying, the words that came in, not the thoughts that they expressed about women, she had no idea that such a thing exists. She said she was beside herself. She couldn't believe it. They were not religious, but we have to understand that the struggles that men go through, religious men, are there all the time. And it's our responsibility to protect them. It's our responsibility to make sure that we don't put a stumbling block in front of them. And we don't understand it, because their minds are totally different to ours. Now, we're not going to talk so much about, all the details of what Seniot is all about. But with your permission, I would like to touch on something. And again, as I mentioned to you, I come from a Sephardi background, so the background is quite different, and there are some, we're all together, we're all Jews, of course, but there are some differences in the guidelines of Hachamim in certain areas. And I would like to mention something that, for the purpose of just creating awareness, again, not with any judgmental feelings, and really with true love in my heart. I will start with the following incident as an introduction to what I want to tell you about it. There's a lady who I know who is a religious lady, always covers her hair with a short wig, modest. And a few months ago, there was a sick lady in Los Angeles. One of the rabbis in Los Angeles asked for women to take upon themselves to avoid wearing wigs, but just have a head covering for 40 days. And she was one of them. She was willing to take it upon herself for 40 days. And this is what she told me. She works in a big corporation, and she said one of the men working there, a non-Jewish man who comes from a totally different kind of a lifestyle. He was married, now he lives with another woman, whatever, different lifestyle. And he would always, just speak to her a little bit and communicate with her, have a few sentences, have a short conversation with her. She said, the day, and he was a non-Jew, the first time I came to this office wearing, I don't know if it was a hat or mitpahat, a scarf, this man kept away from me. He felt that he could not come close to me. So, I know this is a topic that is very, very difficult. In general, the topic of modesty is a very, very difficult topic for women, because we do want to look attractive, we do want to look nice, and we should look beautiful. And again, we all look around. If I had to ask you, if you really want to be like, let's say, Sarah Imenu, with her tent, and the 3 miracles that happen in her home, in her tent, and I would ask you, if you had to picture Sarah Imenu, whom we would like to emulate, what would she have on her hair? What do you think? beautiful scarf. Now, again, I want people to just think about it. I know that especially in the Ashkenazi community, it's very, very acceptable, and there are a lot of Rabbanim who accept it. But maybe it's something to think about, switching to a wig which is more modest. There are different styles, there are different kinds. Hair, as we know, is something very, very attractive. It is. If we just look at the ads of women with their hair and the spray and the different shampoos and whatever it is that people have, we know. So maybe this is something to think about. Maybe this is something to ponder about and say, maybe this is something that I should, maybe once a week, or maybe put my most beautiful wig in honor of my husband when he comes home from work, when I change into nice clothes and want to look especially nice for him. I know there's a group of ladies here who are trying to work on this area. And again, please, I want to ask you for mehila, because Chas v'shalom, I don't want to create any bad feelings or hurt or upset anybody. I know everybody wants to everybody's doing whatever they're doing for the right thing. This is something that perhaps we never thought about, because that's how we grew up. That's how our mothers were. That's how our grandmothers were. So we never thought about it. And we want to do the right thing. And when we cover our hair with a wig, we do want to do the right thing. And we're doing the right thing as far as we know, as far as we learned. But a little thought to share with you. So this is, I think, what we really, really have to work on. We have to try and focus on our inside. We have to focus on our midot. We have to focus on where we can improve. And while paying attention to our outside appearance, remember to look at our inside. Remember to look at our inner beauty and develop it and refine it. Then the more we do it, the more beautiful we will look, the less need we will have to give to our outside appearance. And again, please do not misunderstand me. I'm not saying that it's unimportant. It is of great importance. A Jewish woman must always look beautiful. A Jewish woman must always look presentable. Always. And again, especially in her home. But the more we focus on our inside, the more we will glow, the more beautiful we will be. And the less need we will have to struggle with this terrible struggle that I know so many of us are struggling with. So many of us in so many communities. Because this is really our strength. This is really what brings the blessings unto us. This is really the key for all the good things that we can bring upon our families, the Jewish people. And it's in our hands. It's in the hands of every single one of us sitting here tonight. It's up to us. I would like to bless every single one of you, that Hashem will give you the strength and the ability to overcome all the struggles and to see the truth, to be a source of inspiration for people around you, that people will look at you and will say, I want to be like her, because she is presenting the real truth, the real glowing beauty. And may, in this zechut, you bring a lot of blessings upon yourselves, your families, and the entire Jewish people. Thank you very, very much. And if there are any questions or any comments, I'll be happy to hear. Oh, my name is, thank you, Ruth Bat Ahubah. Thank you. Thank you very, very much again. And thank you for this big zechut and big honor. It was really very, very special for me to be here with you tonight.